Grind don't stop. 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 If you let me put it. If you let me put it down, 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 down. If you let me put it down, 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 down to you when we get home. If you let me put it down, down, down. If you let me put it down to you when we get home. If you let me put it. If you let me put it
They do say that all roads lead to Rome, but the truth of the matter is, in Brawl Stars Esports, all roads lead to the Brawl Cup, and that is exactly where we are right now. The road to Brawl Cup. 4 teams from Asia Pacific South looking to duke it out for one spot that books them a chance to go to either LCQ or Worlds. Hell, they might even fall fourth. We'll have to see whether they can take that opportunity and go toe-to-toe with the best at the Brawl Cup at DreamHack Dallas. My name is Lupana, joining me in the mic, Cthulhu. We're coming into it, the road to Brawl Cup, Southeast Asia, South Asia, ready to duke it out.
Oh yeah, the APAC Derby is right upon us, and honestly, this is a very exciting moment. 4 top teams, 2 from each of the sub-regions, whether it's SA or SEA, looking to really duke it all out and show which one is the best within APAC.
Well, the journey has been long, as has the road. We find ourselves on that journey at the moment. We've played through open qualifiers, monthly finals. Points have been accumulated through best of 3s, best of 5s, all the way here. The top 2 teams from Southeast Asia and South Asia are here at the road to Brawl Cup. They are wanting to take the top spot. That is all that really matters to them, I think, at this stage. It's going to be an interesting road, that's for sure. We've got teams that could definitely take the cake here. But, I mean, there is always upset potential when it comes to competition like this, Cthulhu. And, I mean, getting yourself that direct inject to Worlds at this stage in the competitive year for Brawl Stars would be massive if somehow one of these Asia Pacific South teams could snag that away.
Oh, absolutely. This would be a huge opportunity for a number of teams, really, especially, I would imagine, for some of the teams that haven't really gotten that much of an experience. This will be a perfect opportunity to make that breakthrough and, well, gain that very valuable experience as well.
Well, they won't just be gaining experience, of course. There is more up for grabs than just that. And, I mean, look, there's a lot to play for. And some of you may be wondering, well, first place doesn't make any money. That's because they go straight to the Brawl Cup, where there is $50,000 up for grabs. Here, the road to Brawl Cup, there is only 5. Half of that goes to second place, $2,500, and then third and fourth. They are already in the money. They've already qualified. They're already walking away with $1,200. Why not try and bump that up a little bit? So there is still incentive to play and make it to that Brawl Cup itself. And having a look at our 4 teams coming into the competition, there is a lot up for grabs. It is going to be derbies across the board. Southeast Asia versus Southeast Asia, and then South Asia versus South Asia. So both regions will have representation in the grand final. Both regions have a chance to take that spot going to the Brawl Cup, Cthulhu.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for both sides of the bracket to really showcase the best of the best straight from the get-go. If before in some of the previous monthly finals we also had the whole topic of the exhaustion as well coming into the place, this is the best teams at their most energized space and time, really ready to duke it all out with their full might.
Well, let's get on into it. Game 1. It is the Southeast Asian Derby. Up first, it's Revenant X Spark coming into it. Easily the fan favorites. X9J responds and Sergeant. These guys have just been doing so much work for Southeast Asia in Brawl Stars Esports over the last few years. Revenant have been backing Sergeant for the longest time, and they're pairing him with a really, really solid squad to round out the trio. I think realistically this should be the team expected to win, but in a single elimination format, qualifying bracket, there is room for upset. So Revenant, while looking solid, aren't the be-all and end-all when it comes to this part of the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They are a roster that can still do quite a fair bit of damage, and like you said, could still be quite big contenders. Against them, though, are the team that honestly has raised quite a fair few eyebrows. I know mine were raised as well looking at them. Look, the Youngblood roster, Primey, Hiroshi, and Vex are the trio that actually still very much impressed me, and whilst they had still a bit of a trouble before battling against Revenant X Spark, they shown that even the Titans can bleed.
I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, monthly final 1, it was a pretty one-sided affair. It was just all Revenant all day. The second, of course, of those monthly finals and this run to the road to Brawl Cup, Youngblood gave it to them. They took it to a set 5. They really pushed them up against the wall and then forcing that match to play out the way that it did. So, yes, there is definitely upset potential. So far, Revenant have the record, of course. They are undefeated against Youngblood through the monthly finals so far. So if history is to repeat itself, it would definitely lend itself to Revenant X Spark. But Youngblood, like I said, single elimination format. This is where the upsets do happen. You cannot, for a second, rest on your laurels. You need to be coming out with full force.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. This is, like I said, this is going to be the perfect opportunity for all the teams to really showcase themselves in the full force, at their full capacity, with full energy as well. And right off the rip, yeah, this needs to be a full 100% commitment, maximum effort.
I mean, that's exactly it. Going into best of fives off the bat gives you a little bit of extra security, I suppose. And here is our maps, our sets coming through. Ring of Fire to start off with the hot zone. It is Brawl Ball on Pinball Punt, Bounty Shooting Star, Gem Grab on Last Stop, and then set 5. It is Heist Safe Zone. I mean, Cthulhu, we've seen very few heists through the road to, the qualifiers to the road to Brawl Cup, of course. So it might be a situation where, again, we get to see that. But so far, both teams have proven they're very, very capable when it comes to the draft. They are capable of playing from behind. They are not teams, by any stretch of the imagination, who you should be counting out. Even if it is what you would consider a bad draft, they are still a team that can pull out the victory there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd say arguably Revenant X Spark showed us the most flexibility in terms of the rosters that they can bring from their brawlers. And looking at the hot zone itself, it is one of those, or especially for Ring of Fire, it is a very strong for area denial, high health brawlers, and brawlers with mid sustain as well. So a good centralized control will mean that it's easy to coordinate a team comp. From here on, the picks like Ash, like even Pam, Max, Poco will be very, very crucial here, I feel. Just for the amount of the sustainability, the heals as well, and in terms of, say, even somebody like an Otis pick, which, look, mind you, we haven't really seen quite a fair few, would have been a decent choice as well.
Well, getting into the pick ban phase, I did question whether Loomby would be available in play. I had thought maybe she would have been in quarantine still, but no, it is going to be banned out by Revenant to start things off, the newest brawler in the competitive scene. Poco and a Melody rounding out that ban phase for Revenant, and it's going to be a Meeple, a Draco, and a Chest. It's going to be Hank opened up for Youngblood, who did, of course, win that coin toss, so they will have a fairly beefy frontliner. No real support in the form of the Poco. You could pair it with a Byron or something along those lines. So in terms of survivability, yes, they've got a decent amount to work with, especially going into the hot zone. Ring of Fire is a map where you kind of want that beefy frontline. You want something that is able to sustain a little bit so that you can then just keep cycling through. I'm probably looking for some mobility, but okay, Meg coming through as the response from Revenant.
Yeah, I'm quite curious about that Meg choice as well. This should be a pretty solid in terms of tanking, though she does need a little bit more, I guess, backup for her play. So I'm interested to see how this will really pan out for the Revenant Spark, and a Lou as well to be brought on out. I'm quite keen. I'm keen for that. I'm happy with that choice, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lou to back it up. So Meg has some decent support now in terms of she offers that front line. Lou's going to be able to lock down, I would imagine, just Hank playing around the wall. You probably want some wall break to mean that, ensure that Hank doesn't have the best of security. So Lou can get to work. But I mean, to be fair, again, we've seen the super from Lou lock down so many hot zones in the past, just because exactly the same size of the hot zone means you can't play on it without getting frozen. So here in Ring of Fire, yeah, it's a pretty solid pick for Sergeant. Lola coming in as well. The Ego, I mean, it has been a bit hit or miss with the Megalomaniac in terms of how well she plays, especially in the objective game modes. But clearly Youngblood are happy with her as she is, so they're going to be pairing it with the Hank to start things off.
Yeah, not a bad choice, all things considered. And Youngblood did show us before that they were able to, say, flex quite a fair few, I guess, call it out of the ordinary sort of picks with Lola. At the moment, feeling a little bit less performing, all things considered, at least on the regular meta Brawl Stars in the more recent times. But all things considered, still a very potent brawler that can be brought on out. And well, Ollie as the final pick for Youngblood. I read this. This is quite a beefy lineup.
Yeah, I mean, huge amount of damage threat, great front line, means that there's going to be some decent security for the Lola, and there's just going to be a lot for Revenant to have to try and deal with. Looking in response, I think they probably want to go along. Either they double down on the damage side of things, so Lou does a decent amount of damage. You want someone who's going to accelerate that even further to punish anyone caught out. I mean, there's potential for a grade, just something that can also move you up the field a little bit faster. Something like the Stu. I probably don't think the Stu would do amazingly well into this comp, given there's just a lot to burn through. So yeah, they're going to double down into the tank side of things. So it's going to be mirror tanks, and then obviously the sort of that back supporty setup type brawler. I think Lou's probably going to offer a little bit more than the Lola per se in this matchup, but again, both fairly solid drafts. Youngblood have not really put themselves at a significant deficit by any stretch of the imagination. So long as they can keep the distance between them and the Frank, they're not really going to be punished all that greatly by the super or the hypercharge.
Yeah, that is true. I'm right there with you. Though we did get to see, whilst the, you know, as a pre-phase 2 this whole matchup as well, Youngblood previously did lose quite convincingly as well to Revenant X Spark, albeit they did manage to take away a few of the rounds. For this one, I think, yeah, Youngblood are setting themselves up pretty well, all things considered, for a hot zone. That is this map is going to be. It's look, there's going to be an all-out chaos, I feel.
Yeah, Hank, unfortunately, just a little bit relegated to this left-hand side of the map. He wants to work his way up, but Sergeant's holding the position. Great damage out from Vex to start things off. Super is there. Vex is going to be caught, and he's a big pile, big target, big lot of trouble. They will get Meg out of the mech, but unfortunately the Sergeant there in support for X9J means they can keep themselves in on the hot zone. They clear out any sort of resistance, and now Hiroshi's playing spoiler in the back lines, trying to keep what he can in play so this team can work their way back up the field on towards the hot zone. Does have that super, does have the hyper as well. He's going to drop it. Ollie has the hypnotize in pocket. Vex now at that right hand lane, trying to find an avenue into the back lines. Frank just kited out, response gone, but the hypercharge is going to be there for X9J. The hypnotize is in, but X9 popped out of that mech, needs to find some avenues for something. But Sergeant, he's going to find the opening onto Vex, gets that hypercharge up and available, so suddenly the zone is going to be really hard to contest for Youngblood. As soon as he pops that, and there you go, it's dropped in on the Youngblood side of the map. Instant freezes onto Hiroshi. Vex backs himself up, but he's going to stay alive for the moment, and he might have a pretty big job to do. Hypnotize is there for Prime as well. Unfortunately for him, Response has the super, and it's big damage out paired with Sergeant and X9. Vex in the backlines trying to make something happen, but caught by that super. Sergeant denies him. Response as well with a hypercharge. Everything synergistically, it's just lining up for Revenant X Spark. They string together super after super, hyper after hyper, and Youngblood cannot get themselves onto the hot zone with any meaningful intent.
Not at all, yeah. This was a pretty thorough well, ultimatum that really Revenant X Spark drew here in terms of how they kept the control. It was a pretty straightforward outright win for them. With Youngblood, whilst having a really good lineup, they just didn't really have any sort of map control.
Yeah, unfortunately, they switched the lanes between the Ollie and the Hank, and they're going to work for a bit of a pinch on the back of X9, but he's finished. Prime's finished off, Vex is finished off, they lose the Meg, but unfortunately it's a full wipe in the opening moments of this hot zone, the second round of the set. 30% progress already done. Revenant have just got this in the bag. The draft looks so clean. The loose super out as well. Prime has to dash out of it, but it cost him his life. He's frozen on the very last second, and look at it. He's just, Vex is trying to hit the 360, 720, 980, I think it is after that. No, it's 1080, that's the one. No scope, but he's well off the mark. He can't close the gap, and look at it. Response has the hyper, has the super, everything ready to go. Prime tries to work his way up the left-hand lane. They just cannot touch the zone. There's just too much clearance between Response, X9J, and Sergeant. Prime's going to jump into the hypnotize. The hypercharge is there. Now the freeze goes down. X9J cannot do what he needs to clear the entire team, but allows Response to come in. He has the super. Is he going to drop it? He's just going to keep walking on through, and he just gets his time. He knows he doesn't have to play his abilities there. He just clocks it on over. That was an insanely clean hot zone from Revenant to start off this road to Brawl Cup.
Oh yeah. This was a super accelerated one, and yeah, look, I have to say, after witnessing just how clean this was, Lou has been arguably the deal breaker, I feel, in this pick in this matchup for Revenant X Spark, because just given the sheer amount of the zone control that just Lou had was already a phenomenal turnaround. And then yeah, Response and Sergeant playing the tanks out of their minds. And mind you, like you said, even with Frank, that pick paid out in absolute multiple dividends as well. Whereas whilst for Youngblood they had really good pick, it was a good on paper. I think it's just, yeah, the fact that they just couldn't really breach through, there wasn't enough even damage output really, which sort of begs for a question, you know, whether that pick that they've brought in I believe it was the Lola, that I now kind of argue maybe even, you know, a choice of somebody like an Amber even would have been a better choice.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was definitely options. I think there was just too much to burn through. They didn't have the burst. Yeah, Lola did not offer that. There are a couple of answers I think you could have gone with, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter because Frank was just going to be so hard to deal with. Meg was just so big, and then Lou. It was a combination of insanely high health bars, really, really solid burst, but also great control out of the Lou that really sort of sold the whole thing, and especially. I mean, you look at it. We did say there are teams that are coming into this Road to Brawl Cup that could potentially be a bit of a dark horse, looked upset. Clearly, Revenant heard us and said, haha, that's a funny one. No, they can't. They are here. They have come with intent, and that intent is to win the whole darn thing and take the spot at the Brawl Cup. And with an opening set like that, I believe they can do it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Look, with this kind of pacing, this is going to. This feels like this might very much be a pretty accelerated conclusion to the matchup. And I mean, we're looking at the head-to-head. A 7-3 kills between X-Plan-J and Hiroshi just basically tells the story quite vividly here, I feel.
I mean, you look at it, the 126,000 damage, so 34,000 more damage done by Hiroshi there. For less kills. I mean, unfortunately, they just could not close it out. Yes, they got so very, very close, but it was not enough. But it's time for the Brawl Ball. Pinball Punt up next. Revenant have banned out the V, the Poco, and the Lumi again. Chester, Dynamite, and Meeple the response. And this time, Lou's going to be snapped up by Youngblood.
Okay, right. Yeah, the Youngblood realizing that obviously Lou is quite a big power pick here, but not a bad choice as well per se, given that, you know, for Pinball Punt, that is a map that does feel quite great for close range bruises as well, heavy tanks, wall breakers as well. Bush heavy setup as well does allow for a few of the ambush play styles, albeit, I mean, you look at just even the sheer size and just the openness of it, there's quite a fair few chances for very long shots as well with the ball.
Yeah, I reckon realistically they've got some great setup. I mean, we've seen it used great effectively. That's another brawler that we've seen used to great effect in the Brawl Ball so far in the Frank for Revenant. So we might see them double down in that beefy front line once again. Unfortunately, lacking the control that we've seen out of the Lou. But Max, another phenomenal brawler in the Brawl Ball. If you're not looking for dashes, you're looking for someone with a speed steroid. And Max is, in fact, the caffeinated monster in terms of moving teams upfield. She does that in spades.
Oh yeah, I'm always quite excited to see when there's a Max comp coming on out. With him on board, that it makes, well, for quite an accelerated, like you highlighted, of a roster. And I mean, yeah, paired up with Frank, that is a deadly combination for Revenant X Spark. On the side of Youngblood, look, I'm now thinking, almost scratching my head, sort of what could we see? Okay, a Buster to be brought on out, maybe a Poco behind him as well to back him up wouldn't be a bad shout as well. But yeah, this will require quite a fair bit of a play, given that Poco has been really banned from on the side of Revenant X Spark.
I read the Buster. I mean, the hypercharge and the plot armor now is going to do a lot paired with just so much damage to Nile. I think the problem being is they need sort of either a high damage tank to pair with the Buster, allowing Lou to set up, or they need a finisher. They need someone that either has dashes in the kit, because they're drastically lacking in mobility for Youngblood, which they cannot match if the Max gets the hypercharge up. They're just going to be streaking down the field. Ollie, well, yeah, look, has a bit of a dash, is also a bit of a frontline, so fills sort of both those niche holes for Youngblood. So a bit of mobility, a bit of frontline as well. So they are going to opt into the double tank route. I would imagine Revenant's probably going to do the same thing here. I don't know if they necessarily go the Meg route again. El Primo would be my bet, given that it is still up and available. If Revenant want to really just blow this set out of the water, if they pick an El Primo here paired with a Max and a Frank, it's going to be very hard for Youngblood to lock them down.
That would be a legendary combo. Honestly, I'm right there with you. El Primo will be very much perfect of a choice here, considering that Max not as of a... Yeah, there we go. Max not as much of a squishy of a brawler, and yeah, both El Primo and Frank really just write the whole story.
Yeah, call me a telemarketer because I called it pretty cleanly, honestly. Yeah, El Primo, Frank, Max. This is going to be such an intensely difficult game for Youngblood. Yes, they have the tools to lock down in the Lou and the Ollie if you get a good hypnotize off. If Lou gets a super off, a hypercharge off in the right place, it is going to completely gut the momentum that Revenant do have, but anything, any tiny bit of momentum that Revenant generates, they steamroll out goal upon goal, set upon set. Realistically, their comp should pretty easily give them a series point off the back of it. But here we are jumping into it. It's the Road to Brawl Cup, set 2 of our opening best of 5. Revenant up 1-0 as we jump into the Brawl Ball.
Already straight from the get-go, X9J does fall quite rather steadily. Unfortunately, Max could not really survive for a whole heck of a lot of time. Vix does fall at the end of it all amidst all of the damage, but already the damage has been dealt quite cleanly. Though Revenant and X-Spark don't really lose the momentum just yet, and they manage to still prevent the Brawl Ball from really flying their way. It is looking to be a very heated battle, given that both of the tanks do require quite some short-range engagement before being able to dish out any sort of punishment.
I mean, that was a cheeky little play there. I think it was the suplex supplement there out of Sergeant to keep that ball away from the goal. Just pumps him into the wall, and now Youngblood have ball control back. They're working on the right-hand side. Prime does have the super. X9's going to pop his as well. Frank, can he clear? Prime's just going to look to work it through. The Hypnotize as well. Cheeky little juggle out of Prime as he works through every single member of Revenant to put that ball home and score. Opening pick of the second. Man. Off the kickoff, they lose the Max very early on. The response is frozen up by the lose passive, but Sergeant has the Hyper ready to go. He could wreak havoc if he dives on, and multiple supers, hypercharges as well. Up and available for Youngblood. Look at that. They catch out X9J, and it's Sergeant alone versus the world. Pass across the field. Looking to shoot it up, and Sergeant intercepts, bounces it up. Can Prime somehow work it home right now? Plot armor does go out. Now Response is there behind the wall, stunned up. They should have this. This should be nice and easy for Youngblood. Slots it through the middle, open goal. Yes. Prime goes back to back to put Youngblood up in the set.
All right, just like how accelerated first map was, so is looking to be the second map as well. Youngblood are coming in swinging for this one, and look, yeah, the range game certainly has been won here by Youngblood. They have been able to really establish a pretty dominant control over the map.
Yeah, I think that was just a bit of pacing there. That was the issue. X9J caught off guard, just going a little bit too deep. Vex with a great little pull there. Does only find the one that's traded out in the end, but Response should go down as well. Sergeant does not have the super, so can't go for the self-pass. He's a man alone. Will get the regen up. Baits out the super from Hiroshi as well, as they keep that ball just on the side of Youngblood's half. X9 somehow ekes away the kill against Prime. Vex looking to go on the hunt, but is going to have to back off. Does have the super as well for a cheeky kick on goal. Just pockets it deep into the Revenant territory. Now in the back left corner, X9 has to duck out of danger. He will be finished off. There's just so much pressure. Synergistically, Revenant have been a little bit off the pace here. Super is there, drops it, great stun, but the loose super in response just burns through. And unfortunately, it would have been a massive attempt for Revenant to try and ease some of that pressure, but all for naught.
All for naught indeed. Yeah, this is looking to be a very, very through and through dominant map of Pinball Punt in favor of Youngblood here. Just like how Revenant and X-Spark kicked it off at the beginning of the matchup, they're looking to really return the favor here in full. Whilst a fight back is still there, the lose utility has been absolutely devastating here for any sort of momentum play for Revenant and X-Spark, and them trying to really get back into the swing of things with the lack of the range as well between El Primo and Frank. This is a difficult time, though still an opportunity to really bring it back, and in fact they will be. That is a goal.
That was a massive Hypnotize play there out of the Ollie. Just gets the Hypnotize off, gets the taunt. And oh my lord, Max Hypercharge going off. They drop the super right on the ball, but there's so much damage already coming out. You got a super from Sergeant and from Response if he can play it well. Ball is there secured, the elbow flying in. Big opportunity for a pick on the Vix, but he's got the super as well. Massive Hypnotize in Response. They drop Response. X9J does not have the ball. He's going to steal it away with a dash. And that is a second. Revenant will tie it up in the set.
Holy moly, okay, right, we are amping this up to the moment, to the very last moment really here. Revenant and X-Spark bringing it all back in full against their opponents, and look, yeah, I was just about ready to write Revenant and X-Spark on this map 2 off, and look, they managed to really bring it all back.
Yeah, I mean, for Revenant, you look at the teams that are going to be playing that Brawl Cup, you need to be bringing your absolute aces. Vex, Drop, They've got the super there. Rip Sargent looking for something. Gonna jump over the wall from Prime. Gets a great hypnotize, but he's wiped off the face of the planet. X9 diving on with response. There's a super there. They just look to clear the way. Sargent bounces it off the wall. Goes for the trick shot. Slots it home. Revenant 1 away from taking a 2-0 lead in the series. Flying elbow is going to be there as well as Frank super drops it, but he's a bit off the mark. Lou locking things down. Hyper there from Vex as well. So the plot armor, what a save from X9. Clears it across the right hand side. Has the hyper as well. Could look to streak away up the field. They just need some support. Sargent there now has the flying elbow as well. So could look to go for a bit of a cheeky self-pass play, but he needs the gap, he needs the clearance. Lou drops the super, the hyper even. And this is a dangerous spot for Revenant. If they lose it, the ball taken by Vex.
Oh, no.
He was looking for the self-pass, and Vex, he's just going to walk on through, slots it home. And that is a massive goal there for Youngblood to tie it up. 90 seconds left on the clock. That was criminal. Hypercharge in, but Sargent may have just gone too deep here. Prime looking to work his way up the field. X-Knight takes it. He's looking for that streak. Big shot damage onto Prime. Gets the clearance kick into mid. Vex does get the super kick off as well. So Youngblood avoids a little bit of disaster there, but they haven't got themselves clear just yet.
Yeah, Sargent's back into the control of the ball as well. They are looking to try to push it through to the left side of the field. Already one falls, potentially two. Primey is actually taking a lot of damage here, and Frank is going to town onto him as well. It's all down to Vex to really do anything. Hiroshi's back over the respawn, but this should be a full-on overpower. That is it. That is a 2-0 scoreline now in favor of Revenant X-Pac, the team that felt like they were falling short after this pick for the map number 2 and still yet managed to come back.
Youngblood upset them a little bit in that first. Definitely catch them off guard a little bit in the Brawl ball, but Revenant right the ship and they get it done in spades. A massive showcase for them to bring it back. They played the comp very, very cleanly. And unfortunately for Youngblood, they now find themselves not just facing a series loss, but a tournament elimination here in the Road to Brawl Cup. They will be out if they are not careful. It would have to be a full reverse sweep if they want to bring it back as we go to the bounty on Shooting Star as well. It's not like the drafts have been bad from Youngblood. They've drafted pretty well. Unfortunately, when it comes to execution, twice now, Revenant have been the better team.
Oh, yeah. No, it certainly, I feel here, the case is just of the experience, really. Revenant X-Pac being the veterans of the scene, coming into this, they are just that much more knowledgeable with how can they really play out their comps against the opponents. And whilst we did get to see, you know, Youngblood catch them off guard and play for what is really the big weapon that they have, it is a very much of a visible sense that Revenant X-Pac coming into this are just, yeah, they've played the game for that much long. They've known the meta for this much long as well, and able to just really read in 2 steps ahead.
Sargent, Vex, the numbers a little bit askew, but you also look at it, that's a 1 KD for Vex. He's 16 and 16, whereas Sargent, technically it's positive, 8 and 7. He's at a +1. You take that where you can. The damage, again, a little bit skewed. Vex has been doing a lot to keep the team in it. End of the draft, it is time for some Shooting Star bounty. Gene, Lumi, and Melody banned out. Piper, Carl, and Sprout the response. It's going to be an Angelo off the back of that coin toss win for Youngblood. Very, very strong at the moment. A lot of people are saying that maybe he needs to change because there is little to no counterplay to him if he's got a solid comp to round him out. So Revenant are going to have to deal with those powered up Angel shots.
Yeah, the Angel shots are going to be quite difficult here. And I mean, for a map like Shooting Stars, the long range snipers is absolutely a must. So from here on out for Revenant Spark, I would imagine we get to see maybe a Bell, maybe a Piper as a choice as well. Otherwise, yeah, look, range is definitely going to be a difficulty here. Though, yeah, I'm liking the way how they go in Sergeant bringing out the RT.
Yeah, decent amount of damage. Decent amount of heft as well. RT can be a bit hard to burn through. So I rate it. I mean, he's going to offer the team a decent amount now. Revenant, you're looking for a bit more damage to back it up. You want consistent damage across the board. Probably a little bit of control as well. There are arguments that could be made, something along the likes of a Byron. We've seen a lot of the Eve, although not so much today because obviously we're in our first series of the tournament. But Max, okay. So Revenant, once again, prioritizing the speed element in terms of relocation. I mean, look, to be fair, the Max did a huge amount of damage in that last game as well. So already such a strong draft coming out of Revenant.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you talk about some of the, the support characters as well. Somebody like Ruffs as well wouldn't have been a bad idea per se. But yeah, look, as it stands, Max now is in the play for Youngblood. There's still quite a fair bit of the choice to go with for themselves. They could try to back it up with something like even okay, right, a Gus is definitely not a bad choice at all. Now I would be probably thinking, an introduction of somebody with a little bit more heft to it as well for Youngblood would make quite a lot of sense, though. Looking at it, I mean, Oli very much comes to mind, but okay, a Lola choice instead.
Okay, it didn't work out too well for them in the opening set, but maybe they've got a game plan here. I mean, in terms of damage output across the board, I think they're pretty solid. Not to mention the fact that Gus is going to do a decent amount of sustaining off the back of those spirits, wherever they drop, and a Juju coming in response. Oh, look, I rate it. It did fall off a little bit, but I mean, still on the whole, I think her impact so far in this Asia Pacific South competition, she's been a very, very solid pick. I think she can do a lot for the team. Is going to be able to do a lot to counter the Angelo as well, who is going to be looking to hug those indestructible walls for a little bit of safety. So I think there is a lot that can be done off this Revenant comp, but to be fair, I have to give credit where credit's due. Youngblood has also drafted himself a pretty solid comp in terms of damage output.
Yeah, the damage output is certainly there. My concern here is the squishiness of their comp, because the moment just one thing goes wrong, or just one burst of damage just comes on through, it's gonna be all over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's not like it's a hugely beefy comp coming out of Revenant. I mean, even RT not going full heft at the moment, but if early trade goes the way of Revenant as they secure themselves that blue star, so they will have that tiebreaker. Obviously, Juju can, much the same as Angelo, cross the water. As it stands, though, it now forces the onus onto Youngblood. They need to do something here. You're down 2 sets already. You need to do something. You need to force the momentum in your own favor, and it has to start here, because otherwise it ends.
Yeah, otherwise it ends, and it's going to be a difficult one really to play around. It's good to see for Revenant and Xbox that they did manage to yoink themselves the blue star as well, and straight off the bat, oh no, a Gus getting shut down. That is not a good thing, and the collapse is coming on through straight off the rip. They know exactly what needs to be done. Yeah, and the snipe of Juju, ironically against Angelo as well, is that's one hell of a way to rub in the salt of the wound.
I mean, the only reason that happens too is Sergeant steps into the grass and just can actually that extra range out of the grass form. With Prime down, it's a 5 starts and they'll lead. Unfortunately, there might be little to nothing that can be done in response. X9 is going to look to dash out. It has the super, so does the RT. Not that you're necessarily using that RT super all too often. Sergeant has the Gregory as well. Gregory, depending on who you talk to. It is Gregory, of course, that's his name. But yeah, they just look at his own a little bit here. 34 seconds on the clock. So Youngblood will have to force the onus. They've got 2 supers to work with. That ego is going to be there. The Megalomaniac coming out, as well as Gus being able to do some spooky stuff with his balloons. I don't know if they've got it yet. They've just taken too much time. If they force the issue, they've taken so much damage. Vex is forced off. There's nothing doing here. Response is just doing so much in the wings. They've got the super out of the max as well. This might just be a case of look to the next, try and make something happen. They just absolutely evaporate Prime. They evaporate Vex and Hiroshi. Yeah, you've got the charge shot. So what? 2 seconds to go. They just juggle the aggro and they walk away cleanly. A great opener and potentially the home stretch here for Revenant in this semi-final.
Yeah, the match point. Yeah, look, this is if this is it here, and they finish it up right here, right now, Youngblood get to bow out in arguably one of the most unfortunate turnarounds really here, given just how much it took them to even get to this point. And look, yeah, back to the drawing board. Unfortunately for them, the only thing to really worth mention is that maybe they won't have to verse against the Revenant X Spark roster next time.
Oh, they do pinch out onto Sergeant, but they respond with a kill onto Vex Lola. So it looked like maybe there was going to be an advantage for Youngblood, but positioning-wise, they let themselves down a little bit. Sergeant is going to be able to walk himself right back up to the wall with the grass form. He's going to be able to completely zone out Hiroshi here. Does pop the gadget. He's off the mark, unfortunately, with the penetrating shot. Hiroshi taking some big damage. Zoned out, called out. Gregory dropped onto Vex. He's going to fall too. And this might be all she wrote here for Youngblood into the road to Brawl Cup. 8 stars to 2, with the blue going the way of Revenant. This is looking bleak.
Yeah, indeed it is, with Max as well popping some of his utility just to get a little bit more distance. That's Primey out of the equation. 10 to 2, 8-point difference. Look, this will require quite a gargantuan amount of effort to really even get started with the snowball effect. Though Sergeant does fall, so we are getting ever so slightly close. But man, this is arguably one of the most rough turnarounds here for Youngblood, if I ever seen one.
X9J, he's just hitting everything. He's hitting everything. There's super up there. Gregory out, but it doesn't matter. It's just zone control, honestly. 14 to 5. Response has been on the money too. He has missed next to nothing with this RT right now. He is dominating. There is just so little wiggle room for this Youngblood roster, and even then, it's not enough. They can't find anything. 20 seconds left on the clock, and this could be all she wrote from the other Southeast Asian hopeful. Revenant on the march. They've dropped the hyper from X9J. It's just going to be fancy feet from here on out. Dodge the abilities, dodge the damage. Even if they do lose one, it's not going to matter. With 5 seconds left to go on the clock to start off the road to Brawl Cup, it is Revenant taking a clean sweep 3-0 to knock Youngblood out of the tournament and book themselves a spot in the grand finals.
Big W's here for Revenant X Spark. Really, that was one heck of a performance, really, coming out from them. For Youngblood, yeah, look, it is unfortunate. They've done their best. They've shown us some of the more, eyebrow-raising plays. Unfortunately, those were not enough to convert to the full-on point. So 3-0 it is for us to kick-start this very bracket. And look, rightfully so, yeah, Revenant X Spark already onto the grand final to wait for their opponents from South Asia to come on through.
Yeah, up next, of course, South Asian Derby. Upcore versus Monarchy coming into it. Upcore easily, I think, the favourites, but there is so much history coming out of that Monarchy roster. There is definitely potential for some more upsets to come, but Revenant a clean 3-0 to book themselves a spot at the grand finals. We are going to throw to a break on the other side. It's time to see who joins them out of South Asia. We'll see you guys soon.
All regions from across the globe are sending their best champions to prove to us, once and for all,
Humble, 50%, Crazy Raccoon have fallen short.
which region is the best in the world right now. They'll compete for LCQ and World Final slots for their home region, altering the competitive landscape for the rest of this year. So prepare your flags, your patriotism, and cheer on your home region champions. 23rd to 25th of May, live from DreamHack Dallas. Get your tickets now and join the fun in person. Or watch online at event.brawlstars.com for amazing Pro Pass rewards.
They say the road to ruin is paved with good intentions. Unfortunately, here on the road to Brawl Cup, it is paved with, well, the corpses of Youngblood as Revenant have just dashed them aside in this competition already. A clean sweep from Southeast Asia. Going to South Asia, though, Upcore Esports taking on Monarchy. Who of these two teams will find themselves lying in the dust and dirt alongside Youngblood? And who rises to join Revenant in the Grand Finals? What Cthulhu? It's time to find out, of course. Upcore Esports picked themselves up 2 rosters in South Asia and Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, only one of those 2 rosters has made it through to the Road to Brawl Cup. It is the South Asian representatives, Trishant Yash and Ash King. These guys have looked nigh unstoppable out of South Asia. They really are setting the standard for South Asian Brawl Stars Esports.
Absolutely. They're a roster that, like we've highlighted before, and you've mentioned it as well at the beginning of this year, they're a team that tends like between the, I guess, call it the SA meta and the international meta as well, and they can do it pretty flawlessly on top of it all. So it is a team that can put in quite a fair bit of an effort, and I reckon they're the ones coming into this will be the big potential to dethrone the Revenant X Park.
Well, it's time to see if the Monarchy can rise, of course. It's Strand, Captain Rox, and Walkchu. Coming into this, I mean, realistically, they haven't had the cleanest of runs. Upcore Esports, South Asia, has really just dominated from start to finish. Yes, there is history. Yes, there is experience from this Monarchy roster, but it has proved insufficient in the face of Upcore Esports. So realistically, much in the similar vein as it was with our Southeast Asia derby, it is going to be Upcore Esports' favourite. But again, once again, the single elimination best of 5 format, there is room for upsets. And the thing is, realistically, this isn't the end of the road by any stretch of the imagination. You're looking forward to the Brawl Cup. You look at the teams that are already qualified. We've only got 1.5 teams, technically. Toxis Lotus out of Chinese mainland, and then, of course, Tribe BC also looking for that spot, both vying top of the table. So, you got to bring your absolute A game, and it starts here. Semi-final number 2. Let's get into the vetoes. It's going to be the exact same, of course. Ring of Fire, Hot Zone, Pinball, Punt, Brawl Ball, Shooting Star Bounty, Last Stop, Gem Grab, and then Safe Zone Heist. Cthulhu, it was just an absolute domination from start to finish in a clean 3-0 sweep. Here, there is potential for us to go further. But realistically, it starts with a draft. I mean, for South Asia, what are you seeing? What are you expecting that could potentially carry these teams deeper into this best of 5 series?
Look, for South Asia here, it is probably just bringing out their own flavor into this matchup. Look, we got to see already plenty amount of times the double tank combos. You know, the introduction of Poco once again. You know, the ever loved Carl as well. Wouldn't be a bad shout either here. Stu has been a pretty recurring issue here. I'd even dare to say maybe even a cheeky Mortis to be brought on out, but otherwise, you know, the usual suspects like Gray, like Jean, could be also quite solid choices. And well, unfortunately for Carl, he gets to sit on the bench for this one. Yeah, taking out nicely Ollie B, Lumi, and Lou. Lou actually copying a ban from both sides. It's going to be Carl and Sweet for Monarchy. Chester opening up the pick phase for Monarchy has been very strong out of Asia Pacific South, so not at all a weak opener. Monarchy really just throwing down the gauntlet, or the Jack in the box, I suppose, when it comes to Chester. Upcore going to need to respond with something strong, especially on the hot zone as well. You need either something that can quickly get up the field, or at least control the field in a pretty significant way. Yeah, something of like something Stu, something maybe like a max pick even again. Wouldn't be a bad shout, to say the very least. There's obviously argument for somebody like maybe even a Surge to be brought on over, maybe a Draco, but look, there's ample opportunities. The one thing that we can say for certain, well, I was about to say Lola was not the great pick, at least back for Youngblood, but let's see how Upcore will be able to play their cards out with this brawler, because look, yeah, Lola hasn't really made much of an impression, at least in terms of the matchup so far. But I'm curious to see how she will be able to play out, as long as the comp build around her is actually still very much workable and has some good range. Yeah, so far it's definitely left a little bit to be desired. That much is for sure, at least in the Road to Brawl Cup. But
That Mr. P coming out, which again, I'm surprised it's taken us this long. Yes, it is only one series that's been played. And yes, it was only 3 sets in that series that's been played. But Mr. P was pretty much a staple through the monthly finals. Has been very, very strong, and it's going to offer Upcore a lot. I think in terms of supporting LoL, it gives her a little bit of gap. Gives at least something to draw attention away, not to mention the damage. And then there we go. It's the APAC Grey coming in. We did wonder why it wasn't played much in that last series. Could have been used to great effect a couple of times, but it's going to be picked up for Monarchy. That age-old Dimension Door to be able to get up the field and get yourself back on the objective, and a Draco. So the front line, the comp from Monarchy is great. Huge damage, huge mobility, and a decent frontliner in the Draco as well. Upcore, they're going to need something to match that front line, I think.
Yeah, quite a lot of the opportunities here to really match that front line. I mean, we could go the pathway of somebody like an Ollie as well. Wouldn't be a bad choice. Well, okay, a Griff to be brought on out. Not a bad choice to say the least. And on top of that, the ability to be the wall breaker will be able to eliminate a lot of the cover for the Monarchy. So Upcore looking to really just brute force themselves onto the position of Monarchy, rid them of any safe space to really play around with, and maybe that's how they're looking to really claim their space on Hot Zone.
Yeah, just give a little bit less security to work with around the map. So it's not a bad draft. I definitely think it leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of mobility. I think Upcore potentially going to struggle a little bit to keep contesting that zone off respawn. Whereas for the likes of Monarchy, they've got a comp that can move up the field very, very quickly. I think they've got exactly what they need to try and bring... Again, I'm hesitant to call it an upset over Upcore, despite Upcore definitely being the better team at the moment. But Monarchy definitely proved that they can be capable in taking down this team. You see Brajesh already working his way up, trying to play that front line. He's going to be burst down very low, 1 HP in a dream, trying to get that regen off. He does unfortunately go down. Yash going to walk on up, finish that kill, and Upcore take themselves some great ground.
Yeah, great opener really there for themselves. Huge openers on top of it all. Upcore just absolutely smashing their opposition. Brajesh trying to make an entry onto the objective, but unfortunately cannot really stomach any further of that damage. And as it stands, Monarchy are kind of left a little bit questioning as to, well, what do they really do? How do they really push on?
Well, I mean, they are, and they've gotten at least some contest. They're only about 10% behind, and they've got that ability to move up the field once the Grey gets the super and the hyper charge up as well. Captain is going to fall. Brajesh just does not have the room to move. He's just taken so much damage in approaching the zone that he can't do anything. He's just going to be burst down on the fadeaway. He walks away trying to avoid the damage, but takes it. It's so rough right now. Monarchy, despite having a comp that could have found some great success in this game, is just not able to find any sort of ground to work with. There's just too much zoning threat, too much damage threat coming out of Upcore. And yeah, look, you question it. There wasn't a huge amount of HP in the pool, but when you've got this much clearance, this much damage being pumped out before Monarchy can even get in distance to pump out their own, I mean, that was 60% differential in a comp that had no front line whatsoever because they didn't need it.
Yeah, look, this is a pretty devastating turnaround really here for Monarchy. Looking at how they really played as well, the second half of that matchup really felt a little bit questionable, I have to say, you know, between the fact that it was just one after another sort of push without really any big return on that investment. Felt a little bit off. And well, whilst already we do have some good zone control from Monarchy, look, how long till that control gets reset?
I mean, the criminal thing is, if this Draco, I mean, he even had a pocket poker, like, that would have just done so much to open things up for this team. You pick the Grey, you pick the poker, you pick the Draco. You don't necessarily need the Chester. Yes, he does a lot. Yes, he offers a lot in terms of zone control, but Draco, without any healing whatsoever, is just melting in the face of this Upcore roster, and they know exactly what they're doing right now. It's criminal scenes. So far, though, Monarchy have arrived the ship a little bit here in the second round of the set. And unfortunately, Draco's job time does not get any easier. He burns down once again. This Mr. P Lola grip combo is just proving so hard to deal with. Yeah, again, Sran take it down. This Grey, who's just meant to be ferrying players into that objective, is not able to. They can't get close. This Draco is just on death cycle right now. Yes, cool, they get the dimensional door down. Yes, they can start funneling people through, but you're dying as soon as you're stepping out of it. The super comes out from Brajesh, but he's got that 1 HP hold. It's not for very long, unfortunately. Will be finished off just off the mark. Yash won't be pulled. And it's going to be Upcore taking position once again, and they will keep marching on. Yes, Brajesh is able to get himself in onto the hot zone. to his death. They are just funneling super, funneling hypercharge onto Upcore Esports and funneling themselves into the meat grinder to their own deaths. And with 20% less than that remaining, it's 10% remaining. Upcore has just manhandled Monarchy out of this match.
Yep, absolutely. This was a pretty brutal beating here that Upcore dished out to Monarchy. And look, I want to believe in what Monarchy really brings on in, but remembering once again the monthly finals, Monarchy, managed to get pretty close to, getting to either the grand finals or, well, making through the grand finals. But man, it felt rough for them, just in every sort of capacity. And whilst, remembering back the Youngblood versus Revenant X Spark, and we could argue for, a pretty compelling storyline there, here for Monarchy, this looks a little bit more dire. I feel like this is where we get to really call it the David versus Goliath of a matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like there's a pretty significant skill gap between the first and second spots in our respective sub-regions for South Asia and Southeast Asia, because Revenant, while yes, going into the monthly finals is a little bit closer, but this is where you bring out that you don't pull your punches at all. You're not hiding strats, you're not hiding drafts, you are just looking to demolish your opponents and get that spot to Brawl Cup as quickly as possible, and that's exactly what we saw. So unfortunately, I think it's looking like it's much the same here going into this for Monarchy. They are just a decent step and a jump behind Upcore Esports. And I have to say, looking at the Upcore boys playing in their team jerseys, they look pretty clean. Those Upcore jerseys look pretty schmick, and I'm hoping to maybe see them at a LAN someday soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Look, but all things considered, map number 1 didn't really pan out the best way how we would have see it, and yeah, the stats a little jump. Two, and the damage as well, almost twice the damages is this is a rather difficult turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty evident skill gap there in that set. That you got what, maybe combined 60% on the hot zone throughout that entire set for Monarchy. They could barely get themselves in with a plan, and Upcore, look, their job is far from done. They've still got to win the rest of the series, and then unfortunately it gets even harder still as they have to take on Revenant, who are easily the favourites at the moment. But if they give themselves a bit of momentum coming out of the semi-final, they could look to potentially ride that into a win. But let's get into it. Up next, of course, it is the Pinball Punt Brawl Ball. Upcore Esports, they ban out the Mo, the Lu, and the B. B copping a ban on both sides, and this time Monarchy going to be the one to ban out Lumion. They pair it with a Chester to round out that ban phase.
Yeah, look, I'm curious about some of these bans, because there's absolutely way more thinking that is going into some of these picks, some of these bans. Straight off the bat, a Poco pick, I absolutely respect that for Upcore Esports. From here on out, you can start building up a pretty robust, honestly, a lineup where we could go the pathway of Brock, we could go the pathway of even the Frank and El Primo as well. From here on, it's one of those picks that Upcore can really flex a lot of different variations, and it would be still very much of a beneficial one.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you stack out two tanks here, probably something along the lines of an Ollie Frank, maybe Buster Frank, Buster Ollie. So you're looking at those three as the golden trio. Max going to be the response. So once again, we see priority in terms of mobility. Max is going to offer a lot in terms of that super, the hypercharge, just being able to get that ball up the field quickly. You still probably want someone like an El Primo who has that inbuilt dash mechanic in his flying elbow press. So you still want something to match that beef. I think Monarchy, realistically, yeah, you look something like the El Primo, the Frank to round it out. Lu being banned means that you haven't got that consistent lockdown that we've seen prioritized so many times. You could go control. Realistically, you could go for someone who's got that stun, the slowdown. But realistically, it can be a precision issue. If you can't get it up quickly, you're in trouble. And it's just going to be Max Frank, a pretty consistent pick combo in the Brawl Ball.
Yeah. Look, a Frank choice is certainly quite potent one for Monarchy. This is a perfect opportunity to really, kickstart their run here as well, to get a bit of a return on their own momentum given that they've been just shut down pretty heftily in the hot zone. So for Brawl Ball, this will be perfect time now, praying that the El Primo doesn't get taken away from them, and then that is a really potent lineup that has been just created by Monarchy for Upcore Esports. Okay, right, quite an interesting choice to be brought on out.
Yeah, going to Colette, so just anti-tank, I suppose. I think it does mean that Upcore are going to have to use that last pick on someone to give frontline. I think Buster would do a lot for them. Unfortunately, Frank is going to not suffer as handily at the hands of a Buster, but it gives Colette and Poco a bit of room to work with. You picked a Poco, you want a tank, you want someone in frontline. I mean, yes, Colette is going to do a great job of just mincing Frank in terms of what her kit offers, but if Monarchy just double down, if they go into the tank here, okay, so it is going to be Buster, like I thought. I think Monarchy, you go El Primo, you call it a day. Already that's a pretty solid roster. You've got what you need. As long as you can get one of either the Frank, realistically, as long as you can get El Primo moving up the field with the super ready to go, you get the self pass up, easy goals. So I think Upcore may have backed themselves into a little bit of a corner with this draft.
Yeah, quite possibly this could mean a lot in a world of trouble, really. Looking back at it all, whilst Colette could be a decent choice, it's a problem of being able to be in that momentum, to be able to keep on outputting the damage at a very consistent rate. Interestingly enough, okay, right, a Shades pick is not a bad choice, but it feels like maybe a bit of a missed opportunity.
No, so the strategy is, rather than doubling down into tanks, just kill Poco. That is entirely Shade's job right now. Kill Colette, kill the Poco. Suddenly, your Buster doesn't have any healing or any support, and go from there. So the assassin answer to a healer, which has worked pretty well in the past. We saw it, I believe it was actually Upcore Esports and Monarchy in the last monthly finals where they played it, and suddenly Poco was just wiped off the face of the planet and could do no healing, nothing to support the team, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was a hot zone if I remember correctly. But here we go. Semi-final number 2, it's set 2. Upcore Esports, Monarchy, they're still vying. There's still a chance Monarchy could bring it back, but Upcore have been looking clean with it so far.
Absolutely so. That is the case here. Already straight off the bat, Upcore is the one to absolutely shut down any attempts at the assassination of Poco, and straight off the bat, already that's the ball in. It didn't even take a minute really here to get the score going straight off the rip. That is a pretty convincing beginning here for the run.
Off the mark with the super. Brajesh, he's trying to come in from the back lines, get some big damage on Trashan. Can't finish him off. The super.
Enough.
What? Just finish the Buster. It wasn't that hard. He's going to get the regen, the hypercharge, speed boost as well. He's just going to walk it over the line. That was a clean 2-0 for Upcore Esports. Monarchy with a massively missed opportunity there. He had 2 targets that were within execution range. He doesn't hit either of them. Suddenly Buster turns around, finishes them off. Poco's able to then, yeah, look, there we go. Okay, that was rough. That was rough if you're a Monarchy fan, but it is only the first round of the set. There is still a chance they can come back here, but that one is probably going to be weighing on them a little bit. Rajesh is just too far forward. He's taking so much damage. The montage coverage for Trashan, so he's not going to take any damage from the Max. Max is dead.
Oh no. Oh.
While it might be the Monarchy, it seems there is only one king in South Asia, and his name is Ash.
Yep. Ash has been just absolutely devastating. Just the sheer amount of just damage that has been output, really, and you can see even Monarchy are scared around the corner, just trying to, get some sort of a cover or trying to recuperate the losses. They can't. They can't afford it. That's it, man. That's the second point already. We are bound for arguably yet another speedrun performance here, I feel.
Turns out there might be a phony king in South Asia, and it seems that Monarchy are them. They are the false kings, because Upcore with an absolutely massive... I mean, look, we thought the Revenant series was quick. This one is somehow going to be even quicker. Like, Upcore Esports are just streaking through. Look, this is just... And I use this word very, very rarely. This is an absolute shellacking that we are witnessing right now, and unfortunately it is Monarchy that are being basted, roasted, toasted, put on the barbecue, smoked for a few hours, and then carved up. And as we head to Shooting Star for the bounty, set 3, I mean, it's bizarre. Cthulhu, it is worth mentioning. So the draft phase for that second set was longer than the map itself.
Yep, that feels about right. Honestly, I'm still feeling a bit speechless. I thought that we were about to see, you know, the absolute sweat fest that is the pinball punt, and in reality, it was just an even quicker venture. Really going into that one 2-0 just like that in the span of less than 15 minutes. That feels quite a potent one. But look, yeah, all things considered, there's still an opportunity. You know, the shooting star bounty is still promising quite a fair few opportunities, quite a fair few reiterations. But
promising after two of the quickest sets we have seen throughout, not just the Brawl Cup, but the monthly qualifiers as well. What hope! What hope! 11-2 for Yash right now, where Shran is dectuple negative. Like, he's gone 1-10. Monarchy have been manhandled from start to finish. They are being usurped in probably the most egregious way I think we've seen. Like, South Asia is not a competition, it turns out, because it was always Upcore Esports.
It always was, yeah. They seemingly are the kings of South Asia. They're really covered into this cause. But look, I tried to be, you know, hopeful or positive in this case, because obviously it's not over till it's over. But yeah, it is a very rough venture here for Monarchy. There's no other way to really put it. Looking at the scoreline as well, yeah, 2-0 so far. Revenant and Xbox just finished their matchup just before against Youngblood in the 3-0. If this is how it's going, look, I'm now curious how will even the grand finals go, because whilst Upcore are dominating here, Revenant Spark has shown us that they really just not really sparing anyone going into this. Look, and their adaptability has been absolutely phenomenal.
I think it's worth mentioning. You look back to the likes last year. There are definitely two very different spheres of competition that are going on. You have Asia Pacific South as a whole playing through the Asia qualifiers. They're sort of doing their own thing through South Asia, Southeast Asia. Whereas you had Revenant at the time who were very much contesting with East Asia as a whole. That was their focus. That's where they were streaming. They were taking on teams like Crazy Raccoon, taking them down, Navi even. But as we get into it, this could be the final set, unfortunately, for Monarchy here in the Road to Brawl Cup. Upcore are looking on top and in the money. Shooting star, it's Angelo, Gene, and RT Band out to start things off. Piper, Bell, and Eve. The response from Monarchy, which means that a couple of those big menaces are already out of the competition.
It's interesting to see that some of the top performing long-range brawlers are being outed pretty convincingly here. Both teams are almost vying for a bit more of a, I guess, close range fight, maybe play around the bushes, and straight off the rip, a tick pick as well for Monarchy is a pretty curious one, all things considered. But in our a thrower in this setup wouldn't be a bad shot, though. One thing to me is the squishiness of tick.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they got this set up, if they got someone that can provide a little bit of frontline, draw that attention away, then yeah, I think realistically, Tick can thrive, play behind those walls, and just be a bit of a menace on Shooting Star. But again, it comes down to what they pair it with, what is there for the rest of the comp. Because I mean, if you're Monarchy right now, you are staring down the barrel of elimination off the back of this set, and Upcore immediately gonna pick the Grey up. So now suddenly this Tick is less secure if you get the hook off. I mean, he may not go for the Kane gadget. Maybe he goes a different route, but Gus paired up. So already some massively long-range threat for Upcore Esports. Anyone that steps out of position without the security of one of those indestructible walls for Monarchy is in a lot of trouble. Plus the added mobility that Grey offers with the dimensional doors. Monarchy are going to have to pull out something that is going to really disrupt Upcore for the remainder of this draft.
Yeah. I'm now thinking, who would that be? Because I mean, they could technically, you know, bring somebody like, oh God, well, Carl is still technically out there to be played, in theory. Maybe a Stu, maybe, gosh, I mean, okay, an 8-bit,
okay.
Not a bad choice, all things considered. Albeit, I'm not too sure if that is the solution pick here for Monarchy. Though at the very least, it's good to see that it's a pretty beefy one.
Yeah, it's going to hold down mid pretty well. Being able to chuck that damage booster down behind the indestructible wall means that you can just sort of pivot around, get a little damage out, gives you a little bit of security. I would not be totally upset to see something like the Juju out for Upcore, but it may not matter. That is, again, another interesting pick here, tripling down on damage output with the Mandy pick for Monarchy. See, 8-Bit's going to be doing massive damage. Mandy's going to be big damage. All of it's single shot damage bar the Tick, though. So, yes, Tick can do a bit of splash. Realistically, if the 8-Bit and the Mandy can team up, get shots onto the same person, that is a very, very dead brawler for Upcore Esports. Okay, and the Nunny.
Right. Okay. Yeah, look, I'm looking at this. I'm still not completely fully sure about how I feel about both of these lineups, because on one hand, yeah, that long range capability with the one-shot damage as well is absolutely solid and very, very dangerous, to say the least. But it's the fact that for Upcore, they have that gray pick that can really, get quite a fair bit of mobility, maybe isolate some of the brawlers as well out of this fight, is what I feel will be a big deal breaker here for Upcore Esports. And on top of it all as well, a bunch of these brawlers on the side of Monarchy are pretty squishy as well, apart from I believe the 8-Bit.
Well, it's time to get out of the way. Monarchy facing down the barrel of elimination, whereas Upcore within striking distance of the grand finals alongside Revenant. Gets some decent damage out, but Ash King walks up, has that blue star, has taken some great control. Does fall to Prajesh, which gives over the extra star to Monarchy, who now have the lead. The onus being put back onto Upcore to make something happen. That is no longer a safe spot with the Tick in play, which brilliantly drafted from Monarchy to deny that positioning.
Yeah, in a similar way how the Juju was previously picked by Revenant X Spark, this is the good opportunity here to utilize the thrower as well, to just nullify any sort of the safe ground that can be had behind some of the walls. Captain Rocks there is very much at the danger of being isolated, but instead it's actually Brajesh to be taken down and to reclaim the blue star as well. The wall busting capabilities here coming on through quite big, and all of a sudden Upcore Esports pulling out miracles, really.
Cheeky little snipe there from Trishant, sets themselves up with a bit of momentum. They just carry it on. Ash sniping away Captain Rocks, and they're just avoiding a lot of this Tick's damage. You want them to take the support. The hook does get the damage boost gone as well. So no longer will Captain Rocks be having that opportunity to teleport back to it if he finds himself in danger or getting the extra damage out of it. This is just, it's turned on its head. I think realistically, the damage output from Monarchy should have set themselves up in a good position. But Upcore find their openings, find their opportunities, playing from that long range, not engaging where they don't need to. And as a result, they find themselves now up 8-2. Looking for it. Sran playing this right-hand lane. He's taking so much punishment from Trishant. He's looking to generate that super up. Captain Rocks isolated through mid. 2 supers up and ready to go. With 18 left, Brajesh pops his super hyper there for Captain Rocks. Can he look to make miracles happen? Damage boost drops. But Sran also falls up right inside the dimensional door. Looking for more. Captain Rocks falls too. With 6 seconds to go, he's going to take it aggressively. Ash does fall, but it's much of a muchness in the grand scheme of things. The rest of the team backs himself off to safety. And Upcore Esports now within one of a grand final spot alongside Revenant.
Exactly that. Match point, series point is on the table once again. Upcore Esports they're looking really potent here, and despite a bit of a rough beginning at the start of the round, they managed to turn it around so perfectly well.
Well, Upcore just waited by the time. It's going to be a great little snipe there from Sran onto Yash. The hook is just off the mark on the 8-Bit, but it doesn't matter. Trishant, the last little bit of damage just threads itself through. They pick themselves up that blue star as well, so they hold the lead. They recover from that early pick that was found by Monarchy. They get themselves a tiebreaker advantage as well to boot. And yeah, this is getting dicey. Nani trying to thread that needle once again, trying to get the manual override in position. Thread the needle for a kill. Great little hook on a Brajesh. He's forced into a bad spot. But unfortunately, that might just be the straw that breaks the camel's back in this situation. 5 stars to 2. Yash has the right-hand side positioning. They don't want to break that wall because it exposes the damage boost. A massive damage from Trishant. He then ducks through the dimensional doors. Will fall as well, unfortunately, which actually ties up the star count.
Yeah, now this is the perfect opportunity here for Monarchy to really even it all out, though the problem being is that if they let just the timer run out, that blue star will be the end of them, so they need to make that push no matter how you look at it. But that's, oh man, that kill onto Sran as well. This is going to be even more rough as the score keeps on ramping it all up. 40 seconds to go, and well, the push now even more dire need, really, as Sran falls yet again, Captain Rocks falls. It's all a very, very unfortunate turnaround looking here for Monarchy, as Upcore Esports are looking to just absolutely set the dominating pace to go into the grand final.
Overcharge is there for Sran, maybe some miracle play, could be made with 15 seconds left on the clock now. They need to force the issue. Sran, hypercharges pot, looking for the shots on, needs to find anything. There you go, damage out, but it's minimal at best. Ash King survives, they finish off Sran. Now backed into a quarter, 4 seconds left to go. They've got to force the issue. Ash can go down, it doesn't matter. They do lose him, but in the grand scheme of things, Upcore, another clean sweep here as South Asia finds their grand finalist. Upcore Esports will go up against Revenant in the grand final with a Brawl Cup spot on the line.
Warm up done, now onto a real challenge from Ash King. I mean, valid point to be made, but look, let's hope that this was indeed a warm up and they're all ready to go and they're ready to rumble, because up ahead, Revenant X is a true test to Upcore's ability to just keep up the pace, to be able to readjust on the go mid-match as well.
I mean, not gonna lie, that's the energy that Upcore Esports will need to hold if they want to take down Revenant. But 2 clean sweeps in the semi-finals, both teams absolutely dominating their regional or sub-regional second bests coming into this grand final. Upcore looked solid. They looked clean. They played it very, very well. Even moments where there was minor hiccups, they still brought it back very, very strongly. Revenant, much the same. So it does bode well for a very exciting grand final here in the Road to Brawl Cup. I mean, Cthulhu, some brawlers have been a little absent. We haven't seen Carl yet. There's been a lot that hasn't been shown, and it is likely going to be shown in that grand final. Right now, it's break time. Up after this, best of 5 to see who goes to the Brawl Cup at DreamHack Dallas. Don't go anywhere.
All regions from across the globe are sending their best champions to prove to us, once and for all,
Humble, 50%, Crazy Raccoon, have fallen short.
which region is the best in the world right now. They'll compete for LCQ and World Final slots for their home region, altering the competitive landscape for the rest of this year. So prepare your flags, your patriotism, and cheer on your home region champions. 23rd to 25th of May, live from DreamHack Dallas. Get your tickets now and join the fun in person. Or watch online at event.brawlstars.com for amazing Pro Pass rewards.
Started with 4 hopefuls from Southeast and South Asia coming into the Road to the Brawl Cup. There are only 2 remaining. 1 hopeful from each region. From Southeast Asia, of course, Revenant Esports from South Asia, Upcore Esports, both teams who have plenty of experience playing in our small corner of the world when it comes to the game. When it comes to Brawl Stars Cthulhu, but only one can progress. One can make it to the Brawl Cup and look for that chance to qualify for either the LCQ or Worlds. And the competition already, with only, 1 team announced and 2 potentially looking to take that spot from North America, it is going to be an even harder road than any played in this part of the world.
Absolutely. So yeah, they from here on out we are looking to see, well, the best of the best to come out of the both teams that we are about to witness playing. Revenant X Spark, the team that just managed to provide, like you said, the absolute shellacking, really, to young blood, absolutely shutting it all down. And yeah, a roster that has already quite a substantial amount of the international play, now looking to really double down on that investment.
And their opponents who have just played through the South Asian half of the bracket. Upcore Esports coming in, looking to try and do one better. They have got themselves at least $2,500. But why not go one further? Why not take the spot, all expenses paid, to DreamHack Dallas to the Brawl Cup, to bump shoulders with the best the world has to offer there, and potentially look further, of course. But it starts here. You've got to win the grand finals. You win, you're going international. You lose, look, you made some decent money. You look to the second half of the year. Let's go to the vetoes. Let's see where the maps will be. Up first, it's Heist. We're starting with Pit Stop. It's Hideout Bounty second. Knockout on Bell's Rock, a classic. Open Zone, Hot Zone, map or set 4. And then Super Beach for the Brawl Ball to round things out.
Oh man, I'm quite excited to see what each and every one of these maps, because I mean, you look at the pit stop straight from the get-go will require a lot of the side lane flanks, fast pushes as well. It's great for the tanky DPS and wall breakers alike, so somebody like Griff, like Colt, like Bull as well, even to a certain degree, wouldn't be a bad shout to be brought on in. 8-bit as well will be a great pick here, and in terms of just the overall pacing, this feels like it's going to be a heavily accelerated one, just to be able to, get the damage onto the safe. And look, I'm keen to see what kind of rosters we get to really witness, because now this is the opportunity for Upcore to really flex the international knowledge, for Revenant X Spark to show whether they still have that spark for the international play, whether they are able to adapt here as well.
I mean, that's exactly it. And I mean, with Upcore winning the coin toss, it could give them an opportunity to stake something that they really want to find success off the back of what has been already a very accelerated situation. We saw at Ash King. That was the warm-up. That was it. They were just making sure that they were ready to go. Limber, as we jump into it, of course, Pit Stop for the Heist, Lumi, Buzz, and Melody Band out. Daryl, Dynamite, and Carl. So no Carl yet, unfortunately. Upcore will have the opening pick. I mean, you're looking towards the Brock, the Amber, something that can really burn away at those safes quite quickly. Daryl has been the usual suspect, but it's going to be a Draco first pick for Upcore.
I read that. I read that choice for Upcore, especially for a map like this. It's not a bad shout, albeit Draco will need to be supplemented quite rather heavily. The one brawler that is still very much alive and unbanned, Poco, still could make an appearance here, and well, Upcore will need to make sure that they just, get lucky and the Revenant X Spark don't bring out the Poco pick. But otherwise here, I mean, looking back, something like even a max pick here as the beginning pick for Revenant X Spark wouldn't be a bad shout.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. You wouldn't blame them in potentially taking that. So they're just going to immediately hit them with the answer. You can take the Poco. We're going to bring Shade. Have fun, buddy.
Look, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm keen to see how that will really play out. The problem being is that we did get to see Shade being introduced by Monarchy. Unfortunately, that did not really bring any sort of big success. So, look, in the hands of Revenant X Spark, this all could very much work out. An additional of Spike as well. My God, that is a throwback and a half.
Okay. Definitely Revenant cooking something here right now with the Spike pick. It's few and far between when it comes to comp play. But